You got me excited again. It didn't seem like such a helpless, terrible universe anymore.
Right. Well, and obviously, I guess you could say it was by design. That was certainly the intent, was to get past that sort of paralysis and that sense of the overwhelming scope and scale of the problem, and sort of say, well, initially, actually, it was sort of what's the right word for it? It was kind of a dare verging on wish fulfillment. Could I find, hiding in corners, little bits and pieces, put them all together, make a sort of picture of a world that works out of it? And what I found just, kept repeatedly exceeding my expectations. The tools that we need to fix this problem are not only around, they're great tools, and they build better stuff. And it's kind of amazing to me, from this point of view now at the end of it, to still find that there's a lot of for the most part, the conversation is still mostly stuck in that rut of, how bad is it, and how scared should we be, and can we even begin to address this? And it's that world is just waiting for us.
The solutions aren't going to be big necessarily.
In the book, I talk about the idea of the Anthropocene era, which was the term coined by Paul Crutzen, the Nobel Prize-winning chemist, to describe the age we've entered into at a sort of geologic scale. It is now a man-made age, and is fundamentally different in its properties from previous geologic ages. Obviously, that's pretty huge. It's a pretty massive shift, and we're sort of sitting there, trying to, solve Bronze Age problems with Stone Age tools, so to speak. And I think it's just because there's so much entrenched thinking around these things. How do you possibly electrify a modern society if not by one enormous power plant feeding, 1 million people or 2 million people? Well, as it turns out, most of the renewable technologies do a lot better decentralized, and not only that, but by decentralizing power generation, you allow everyone potentially to become a producer, which is, to my mind, as I look back on it, the thing that probably surprises me the most, that there wouldn't be a politician or entrepreneur or some combination of those two who wouldn't want to be the one to stand next to your electricity meter and say, I'm going to make this run both ways. This is a piece of technology Thomas Edison would have recognized. He'd be able to fix it if he was standing right here next to me, and that's got to change. And so that's, you wind up sort of initially thinking, I must be completely misguided here, because this doesn't look near as complicated as it's being made out to be. But I think there's a lot of inertia, and there's a lot of vested interest.
There's somebody who always says, but that's not the way we. I don't have a form for that.
And when you're talking about sustainability at a real systemic level, you are talking about, it's a massively overused term, but a paradigm shift. It fundamentally changes the sort of basic construct of the society, and all of our rules were built for another kind of paradigm, right? So this is a constant problem, whether it's building new urbanist neighborhoods where in the midst, which is mixed use, inherently mixed use, houses above stores, that sort of thing, impossible to do under most suburban zoning codes, which say, no, you have to keep the retail away from the residential space. Those things don't go together. Well, of course, for every era except the post-war suburban boom era, those things always went together. Why wouldn't they go together? But we now have these sort of outdated chunks of legislation that do throw up these roadblocks, and it is going to, I think, take just a critical mass of excitement and demand to just sort of roll right over those. And I think we'll see, I make analogies on a number of counts to the internet explosion, the way it sort of plowed through an antiquated telecommunications policy infrastructure. I think we're going to start seeing that stuff happen with sustainable technologies as well.
So, are you actually hopeful, or are you just hopeful to be hopeful?
I am actually hopeful. I am hopefully not blind to the fact that this is not going to be easy. On the other hand, I look at the end result and think this would be worth fighting for, even if we weren't absolutely compelled by the fact of climate change to make this shift anyway. These are the kind of neighborhoods I want to live in. These are the kind of, this is the kind of transportation I want to use. These are the kind of houses I'd like to live in. And I think I'm probably getting more optimistic by the day, because really the entire period I was researching and writing this book, stuff that I don't really, me personally, I don't care how it happens, but I don't have a lot of faith in policymakers for the most part. I don't have much faith in business leaders with big vested interests, although even on that score, I mean, I sort of say right at the end of the book, like, Walmart and GE are pairing up to put a, whatever it is, 100 million compact fluorescent light bulbs into American homes over the calendar year 2007 or whatever it is. Never in a million years would I have thought at the start of this book that would be a true statement. The fact that you do have, people motivated completely by bottom line thinking, really, really interested in this, I think that's probably where the momentum is going to come from, not from international agreements, even if they're very admirable, not from policy alone, because we just don't seem to have the kind of policymakers anymore that take risks and do things new, and without someone's got to innovate, and so I guess it'll be grassroots and big business in some sort of combination. There's really seems to me like a pretty major shift going on. I'd like to see it go faster, and when I feel frustrated is when I see people digging in their heels at something they don't, almost reflexively. And you see this with everything from people's reaction to wind turbines to, just the general sense in certain circles that we don't, let's not get hasty here. Sure, we're talking about, potential extinction of the species, but let's not, we don't need to really hurry on this thing. And I mean, that's the only thing that I find, lacking in hope these days. I was, really pleasantly surprised doesn't begin to describe how great it was to find out just how far evolved the sort of toolkit was for this.
The book is The Geography of Hope, A Tour of the World We Need. I'm speaking with the author Chris Turner, and The Geography of Hope, published by Random House of Canada.